So I'm pretty sure we're all aware of IGN and their not so respected takes on the Sonic series, to say the least.
Now, I have a theory when it comes to Sonic games. Someone at SEGA hates the Hedgehog with all his might, and he's going about trying to sabotage the franchise with these awful games.
I do think that the hate for IGN is a little bit overblown, but there are times where they really don't make the best case for themselves.
There are only so many times you can hear City Escape before you want to kill yourself.
But in recent years, they definitely seem to have mellowed out on Sonic and the series itself. So that's what we're here to look at today. We're going to look at their newest top 10 best Sonic games list. Okay, right off the bat, I just want to say I love how they have the same thumbnail for both the 2022 version and the 2025 version. I keep forgetting we're in 2025 now. But yeah, no. This came out yesterday, I believe, and I saw it in my recommendations. I saw some people talking about it, and I thought, okay, let's watch it. I did watch a little bit of it at the beginning, but I did want to save it for this recording to see what we could dissect. Now,
Speed is unparalleled, and the only thing on this earth that can outmatch it is his popularity. The few video game characters are as iconic as the Blue Blur, but we're here specifically to celebrate the mainline Sonic video game series and pick the very best. Now, as for our criteria here at IGN, we tried to rank these games based on historical significance, innovation, and how well these games stand the test of time. Now, some games like Sonic Adventure 1 and the original Sonic the Hedgehog are important to the Sonic series and set the very foundation for both 2D and 3D Sonic games to follow. But we felt they both didn't quite hold up as well as their sequels when judged by a modern standard. So they just missed a place on this list. But that doesn't diminish their relevance and impact on the Sonic franchise. Not at all. Now, the 10 games on this list are the ones we feel are the best examples of both classic and modern day Sonic style.
Alright, so this I did see Frontiers was number 10. So, okay, if I'm gonna make my predictions real quick, I do think we're definitely gonna see Adventure 2 on this list. We're definitely gonna see either 2 and or 3. We're definitely gonna see Mania. And we will most likely see Sonic X Shadow Generations. And I feel like there's a chance we'll see Colors. I know Colors isn't very liked by the fandom nowadays, but you gotta remember, it did super well with critics, and it's a more generally liked Sonic game amongst like general audiences.
Sonic Frontiers is an undeniably messy first attempt at a more open Sonic game, but underneath all the jankiness and pop-in lies a great foundation for the series to improve upon in the future. Now, released in November of 2022, boosting around Frontiers' set of open zones is genuinely fun. Completing platforming challenges to upgrade Sonic skills and improve the island's traversable rail system creates a constant sense of progression as you explore at your very own pace.
Yeah, no, okay. So, I've actually kind of seen like the switch up on Frontiers as of recently, where people are saying with Sonic X Shadow Generations coming out now, how it like further expands upon the Frontiers formula with the hub worlds and all that. People are now switching up saying maybe Frontiers wasn't really that good. I go into it in another video that I recently recorded, but personally, I still think Frontiers holds up. I don't think it's a masterpiece. We got AI Design of Faust Nirvana Initiative the same year, so of course it's not a masterpiece. But I do think that it has a very solid foundation, and I do think that like as a game itself, it's still really like acceptable for what it is. It's not like overly glitchy. There are glitches, and it is like it doesn't have like the best collision detection, but at the same time, I think the game itself, while messy, it is fun, and it at least feels like there was a lot of effort put into it. Again, not enough resources, but there was, with the resources they did have, they made the best of it. So that's why I cut Frontiers a lot of slack, especially with the year-long DLC we had with the final leading up to Final Horizon. I personally think that Frontiers still holds up.
Starfall Islands is the Sonic series' first real open world, which drops you on a map with the ability to go anywhere your curiosity draws you to. Plus, the combat and enemy design play to Sonic's speedy strengths with flashy encounters.
Yeah, see, The only problem with it, again, I'm not saying this like as a way to shit on Frontiers, because again, I love the game. It's personally one of my favorites, but I really feel like the only reason why people are so hard on it now is because we kind of wish it could be better. But you got to remember that this is like more of a foundation rather than like what we're gonna get for the rest of the decade. We're already getting hints of what the next game's gonna be like with Shadow Generations and a bunch of leaks happening. Also, the combat can be a little shallow, but I personally think it's fun.
Sonic Unleash's infamous Werehog bits, though that particular game is also one of our favorites. Now,
W.
all that combined with a decent set of
Unleashed is the GOAT, dude.
modern Sonic levels and the best use of Super Sonic the series has ever seen.
Oh yeah,
makes for a solid 3D Sonic game, unlike any of the other entries on this list.
It's definitely solid. Okay, Unleashed.
Now,
okay, are they counting the game itself, or are they just counting a specific version? Because like I only see like, because it's like the PS2 version, which, for the record, I played both. I played both the HD and the SD version. The HD version is just better, dude. I'm gonna be real. Let's see what they say.
Might have given this particular game a significantly low score upon its release. The ardent fans of Sonic here at IGN consider this one to be one of those chaos diamonds in the rough, you could say. The Sonic Unleashed gets
it just came out at a really bad time.
Conversation surrounding it often focuses on its
Unleashed. I think the problem with Unleashed is that it just came out at a really bad time because it came out right after Sonic 06 and right in like way before technology was able to handle that game. Like it was only until recently with the recompilation for the PC native port that people started to experience what Unleashed could have been like if it was released on modern hardware.
Elements, specifically the Werehog bits. Now, a lot of the criticism is warranted, but it also shouldn't entirely.
I don't think it's entirely warranted. Do I think it's a bit of a pace breaker? In the beginning, it is, but that's what the upgrade system is for. That's why, kind of like the day stages, you kind of have to have those mellow, those like slower pace stages to balance out the gameplay. But at the same time, you could also choose to become a master at it and learn different combos to make the experience go by faster when you're replaying the stages. Again, that's why I love Unleashed. Unleashed is my second favorite Sonic game, for the record, and it is. I personally think that the Werehog, as much as I do enjoy Frontiers' combat system more, I do think the Werehog like has more depth to it, you know?
When Sonic Unleashed is good, it's some of the best 3D Sonic there's ever been.
Absolutely.
Released in November of 2002, Unleashed remains one of the best.
I'm sorry, what?
Released in November of 2002.
This came after Sonic 06, dude. What?
Unleashed remains one of the best looking Sonic games despite being several years old.
I think something everyone will agree on when it comes to Unleashed is that this game is extremely well stylized. Two things that people could agree on is that this game is extremely well stylized and that this game has fantastic score, but I think every gamer thinks that most Sonic games have a great score.
Sonic Unleashed feels fast, which is important for any Sonic game. It totally nails that sensation of being the fastest.
I don't know why they're including the PS2 version, but okay. I do think Unleashed does have a bit of a pacing issue, mostly at the beginning. But again, I'm willing to give Unleashed a pass because it's something you could quickly adapt to, and it is like a very immersive Sonic game. Again, I go more into it in another video I recently recorded, but Unleashed is great. I personally think Unleashed is one of the best, my second favorite, and after the recompilation and after playing it again on 360 again, it feels. I really wish we could get another game like Unleashed, dude.
Now, we definitely had to take a look at Sonic's roots and dash back to his Genesis days. Sonic the Hedgehog 2 is still one of the best pure experiences of the Sonic franchise.
Yeah.
It introduces us to his flying sidekick Tails, adds two-player co-op, and improves upon the formula established by the first game in just about every way. There's more zones, new enemies, new mechanics.
Sonic 2 and Sonic 3 are definitely like the most universally beloved classic Sonic games at the very least.
The new zones like Sky Chase gave us
no disagreements
our first look at the Tornado, Tails' biplane, and the Death Egg Zone pits us against an early version of an enemy that eventually became Metal Sonic.
Does this look like a Metal Sonic to you? I know what you're talking about, but one consistent problem I see with this video is the visual representation just really isn't the best. Also, this point doesn't entirely add up when you realize that Sonic 2 and Sonic CD were in development around the same time, CD being primarily developed in Japan while Sonic 2 was developed primarily in America, and canonically speaking, CD takes place right before 2. Just thought I'd throw that out there because I'm a Sonic nerd. What do you expect?
Sonic 2 also introduced the Supersonic transformation into the franchise by having players collect all 7 Chaos Emeralds in a welcome improvement to bonus stages. Sonic 2 is still one of the best sequels to its lengthy list of improvements and additions that still holds up to this day for both newcomers and veterans.
CD, okay. Not expecting
Speaking
CD to be on
Sonic
here.
the Hedgehog 2, Sonic CD feels...
I think CD's a pretty underrated game. I like CD. I do personally. If one thing you should know about me is that I am a sucker for exploration in video games and platformers mostly. That's why I have a huge. That's why I do really enjoy the new Super Mario Bros. Games. I think the star coins are great incentives to explore the areas a lot more. I think I really want to see more Sonic games include. That's why I don't really mind the Sun and Moon medals in Unleashed, because it gives you more incentive to explore the world, feel more immersed. That's why I also don't have an issue with CD, you know?
It's like a more polished and confident version of Sonic the Hedgehog 2. It introduces
I want to
us
say that, but
Rose and the
it's not bad. I do think
Metal
CD
Sonic
gets some
that we all know
undeserved
and
shit.
loathe. But the real star of the show in Sonic CD is its use of time travel, where you can go to the past, present, or future of the zones you're in. Now, you never know if you're going to successfully get to where you need to go or where you're going, and that is part of the adventure. The Sonic adventure. A Sonic CD doesn't need it.
I personally don't entirely agree with this choice. Not to say that I hate CD. I personally just don't consider it better than Sonic 2. I personally like the emphasis on exploration, but I do think Sonic is at its best when it has a blend of those two. That's why Sonic 3 and Knuckles is my favorite 2D Sonic game. But again, nothing too like outrageous, you know.
That blue blur was ahead of his time. Damn. And that theme song, whew, legendary.
Ah, you have to use the Japanese version though.
One
that
thing
one's
across the board. The Sonic
that one's kind
games
of
do
whatever,
right.
to be honest. And Sonic 3, okay. You got a whole
As you can already
chain.
tell, the Genesis era Sonic games are well represented on this list for a plethora of reasons.
Yeah.
Now, each release on the SEGA console got better while introducing new playable characters and mechanics. Sonic 3 and Knuckles, released back in 1994, feels like a superior experience of the early days of Sonic. Now, while both are
and we are going to
solid
get
games
Mania
as
soon, I can definitely
individuals,
tell that.
they fit. Now, the level designs are some of the best in 2D Sonic history. Now, while it certainly felt built and made for newcomer Knuckles, the levels still accommodate the playstyles and strengths for that of Sonic and Tails.
See, I personally... oh, the segment's already done. See, something I wish that they went more into is, like, I think, again, like I said with the CD segment, I think 3 and Knuckles has the best blend of both exploration and speed, as there's a lot of places where you could go to find the giant emeralds for the special stages, and there's like, it kind of has like the most depth to that like whole 2D Sonic level design. You know, the top route is like the most rewarding, but it's also the hardest to stay on, while the bottom route is like the easiest to stay on, but it's like, it has the most enemies. You know what I'm talking about. You've seen people talk about it plenty of times. And colors. Yep, see, I knew it. Colors would be on the
Sonic
list.
Colors has some of the most imaginative and thrilling level designs in the entire Sonic franchise. Bar none. Aquarium Park, for example, is arguably the best water level throughout the whole series.
Oh, I agree with that,
Asteroid
yeah.
Coaster,
I think Unleashed and Generations have the best level design, but I think Colors has the best level aesthetics, you know? I think the thing with Colors is that, because it was a Wii game, it was obviously kind of dumbed down in certain ways. Like, they had to split it in 6 acts or whatever, and that made the pacing of the game truly awful. But I think the levels themselves are decently designed for the most part. The main acts, at least, are really well designed. The bonus acts aren't that great. I still think Colors still holds up. I do think it's a pretty good Sonic game. I don't think it's amazing. I never thought it was amazing, because like, it's weird because the way people used to treat Unleashed is how people are treating Colors now. and the way people treat Unleashed now is how people used to feel about Colors. I think that's like a very interesting switch up. I don't know, to me, I always really liked both, but like, I will admit, I do think even back then, people were kind of praising Colors a little bit too much, praising it like if it was like God's gift to humanity, and I don't know, dude, it wasn't really all that. Is it a good game? A very good game, yes. But obviously, you could tell it was a lot more restricted because of the hardware. It was a lot more like lower budget, and you could tell it was trying to appeal more to Nintendo fans, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but you could tell that there was just some things that didn't really translate well.
And Starlight Carnival, while heavily on rails, the sheer spectacle is a sight to behold. Now, Sonic Colors does an excellent job of blending.
I bet you if Colors released on all consoles and was given a higher budget, you know, it was given like, if it was released on Xbox and PS3 from the get-go, people would still love Colors to this day. We would get a much different game, but I think people would be a lot more on board with it. In fact, I think people would still be. I think people would be saying it's like the best Sonic game of all time. The way they do with Unleashed.
Now, Sonic Colors is one game that any Sonic fan out there can enjoy to this day.
Tell that to like the 75% of the fan base that absolutely hates it. Again, I like Colors, and I personally think it is a good Sonic game. Pretty good Sonic game. Like a solid 7.8 out of 10 Sonic game. But like, I don't think it's amazing, you know? Sonic Advance?
Sonic's 10th
that is very
anniversary saw the
interesting.
release of...
You know, actually, I just remembered, on their 2022 list, they had Sonic Rush on there. I don't remember if Advance was on there or not, but I'm surprised I haven't seen Rush yet.
Hey, editing Hatman here again. Yeah, we're gonna get to that later, don't worry.
2001 also saw the release of a 2D Sonic game, Sonic Advance, for the Game Boy Advance. Now, marking the first time Sonic made his way onto a Nintendo console, a historical moment for our little blue friend after decades of console wars between Nintendo and Sega fans. Sonic can grind on rails, there's a tiny Chow garden, and just overall, Sonic is far more expressive than in the older 2D Sonic game.
You know, hot take, I actually think that Sonic Advance 1 is the weakest of the trilogy. I actually think that... I think it has the, like, most egregious difficulty spike between, like, the first level and the second level. And I think that, like... To me, I just think the other two have more to offer. I personally think all the games are just equal in my eyes, but if I had to single out the weakest one, it would be the first one.
While the entire Sonic Advance trilogy includes some of Sonic's best 2D outings from the post-Genesis era, Sonic Advance remains the best in terms of consistency. It's not only a great starting point for the Game Boy Advance series, but also had some of the best level variety out of the entire
Oh, absolutely. I agree
Sonic
with that, too.
Advance.
And here we go, Adventure 2.
Sonic Adventure 1 laid the foundation for what we'd soon experience in its sequel, Sonic Adventure 2. The Sonic Adventure 2 Battle is the GameCube port of Sonic Adventure 2, which improves the base game with better textures, multiplayer, new upgrades, and exclusive characters. Now, that base version of Sonic Adventure 2 is already damn good in and of itself. And still stands...
Okay, I'm gonna stop right here real quick. If you could tell by my reaction, I'm not big on Adventure 2. Like, at all. I don't hate Adventure 2. I think it is... honestly, I kind of see it the same way I see Sonic Colors, where I think it is a good Sonic game, but it is very, very flawed. Arguably more than Colors. I'm gonna be like the 15th person to say it this week, but like, I just don't like the other gameplay styles. The Sonic and Shadow stages, good. They're fun. The Tails and Eggman stages, I don't like them, but I don't hate them at the same time, you know? I cannot stand the treasure hunting stages with Knuckles and Rouge. I think they're terrible. I think that they're very... the pacing is just awful when it comes to those stages. It kind of has the Unleashed problem where, you know, it has like pacing issues, but with Unleashed, I feel like you could get better when you upgrade the Werehog and have more combat skills. And obviously you could deal more damage with the upgrade system. With Adventure 2, with the treasure hunting stages, that's like 90% based on luck. You have to know exactly where like all the locations are. And yes, I did play I did play the Steam version modded correctly with the with some of the patches to fix it, and it still was miserable. Mad Space and Death Chamber, absolutely hated them. I cannot stand those stages. They're terrible. I also think that SA1 just has a better flow to it. Maybe that's just me, but I personally think SA2 just kind of feels a little more, I wouldn't say stiff, but like it just kind of has a lot more jank to it compared to Adventure 1. That's not to say Adventure 1 doesn't have jank. It absolutely does. And I also think, okay, one thing I also want to say about Adventure 1 is that like the other gameplay styles, if you don't like it, you only have to put through with it for like an hour or two. Sometimes even as low as 30 minutes. You only have to lock in for like barely an hour. But with Adventure 2, it's like a part of the main story, and some of these levels just take up to like, it could take up to 30 minutes, you know? And again, you could just boil it down to, oh, you're just bad at it, oh, skill issue. But like, please tell me, do you know all the Emerald locations? Do you know all the Shard locations? Please, I'm very curious.
While the Sonic and Shadow stages are obviously the highlights with their fast-paced, action-heavy gameplay, there's a great blend of gameplay styling between the various different playable characters as well. Now, on top of all of that...
and I would like the game more if, like, they were more incorporated in the actual... That's why I don't really mind it that much in Adventure 1, because it's more incorporated into the level, the level designs we actually are familiar with the Sonic stages. Personally, I would like it if they kind of went back to like the classic era where, you know, it doesn't really matter who you choose. They all have like the same nucleus, but like they have like differences that stand them out. Like Tails could fly, Sonic could drop dash, Knuckles could glide, you know? I just rather have that than just other drastic different like gameplay styles, because again, if it misses, it really misses. And when you're having an entire campaign or segment that goes on for a while, it really drags the game down as a result. Again, I'm not even big on the Knuckles stages in Adventure 1 either, but I think that those are at least like a lot less annoying than Adventure 2 because of the pacing.
And then, of course, there's both the much beloved Chow Garden and that
which I'm also not really big on. I don't care for the Chow Garden.
Echoed.
But yeah, Adventure 2, don't disagree. Well, I do disagree, but like, if you consider Adventure 2 one of your favorites, I'm not gonna hate you for it. I totally get it. And honestly, the Sonic 3 movie has definitely made my respect for Adventure 2 go up significantly. I still don't like the game all that much, but I also have grown a lot more respect for it.
Sonic Mania is easily one of the best 2D Sonic games since Sega pivoted to strictly third-party. A game made by fans for fans, Sonic Mania is a love letter to the Blue Hedgehog. Mania offers a fresh perspective of what put Sonic on the map, remixing the classic formula thanks to longtime fan and indie game dev Christian Whitehead's retro engine. It did all this while offering fast-paced gameplay, superb level design, and excellent pixel art. Sonic Mania would have been great even if it just stuck to the remastered and new versions of previous Sonic zones, but what truly makes it sing are the entirely original stages.
See, that's my thing with Mania. Okay, I think Mania is a great game. One of my favorites, actually. I think it's like probably like on the lower half of my favorites, like at number 10 or 9. And that's mostly because I think it kind of goes hand in hand with Superstars, which I personally think Superstars is a very underrated Sonic game. Underrated / overhated. Because I think they both have things about each other that kind of balance each other out. I think Mania sometimes has a really obnoxious level design, while I don't think I've ever felt that way with Superstars. It's mostly the enemy placement. I think sometimes there's like really bad enemy placements, and I think there's like some certain zones that I'm just not really fond of. I personally don't really like Oil Ocean in Mania that much. I think Flying Battery is still just as underwhelming as it is in 3 Knuckles. I really hate the first act of Mirage Saloon. I really hate the first act of it, the tornado segment. I don't like it at all. That's my thing with Mania. Sometimes there are some levels that I either just feel underwhelmed or annoyed by. Well, I don't feel that way with Superstars, but I feel that with the bosses in Superstars, where the bosses are just terrible. I think they're paced terribly. If there's one thing I will agree upon the hate for Superstars, the bosses suck. Like, genuinely suck. I cannot stand a lot of them. So I think they both kind of just balance out for me, as, you know, I like Mania because I just think it has a more kinetic feel to it. and I do think it feels like a really nice love letter to all the classic Sonic games. But I personally think that there's some levels that just kind of missed the mark for me, and I do think that it's a little bit too easy. While Superstars, I love its originality, and I love the level design, and I also really love the Chaos Emerald abilities, but I think the bosses are egregious, and the game can be a little bit unfair. But that being said, I think they're both equal in my eyes. I slightly prefer Superstars, but I'm subjected to change on that. I change every other day about which game I like more.
Levels like Studiopolis and Mirage Saloon Zone offer the
Act 2, yes. Act 1, no. Even Knuckles version, I'm not really that big on either. Oh, Lava Reef, I'm not big on either. I really hope number 1's what I think it is.
Every single Sonic fan should play at least once.
Yes, 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 yes! Oh my god, yes! Oh, my favorite Sonic game. I'm so happy this is number 1.
When looking at the lengthy list of games featuring our favorite Blue Blur, there really is only one game currently to put at the tippy top, and that's 2024's Sonic X Shadow Generations. A remaster of Sonic Generations that revisits and remixes some of the best stages, music, and bosses we've gotten across generations of Sonic games. Sonic Generations was already many people's favorites in the franchise.
Mine's included.
And for good reason. But now, with the addition of Shadow, it's gotten even better. Even in 2025, Sonic Generations remains the greatest celebration of Sonic's history, and in our opinion, the best combination of both classic
Personally,
and
I think Generations did the concept of reusing levels way better than Mania, honestly. Because everything in Generations just feels so refreshing compared to Mania. Because yeah, in Act 2, they're obviously gonna remix, like, the level itself, but you still have to go through Act 1, which is mostly a rehash. Sometimes it'll be remixed from the original, but it's mostly a rehash from, for Act 1. Sometimes it'll even pull it straight from the original. But with Generations, it feels so fresh, everything about it. From the way it looks, the way it plays, the way it's presented, the way the level structure is. It's all so fresh.
Modern-day Sonic gameplay styling. So, a remaster of this classic game is one that was welcomed among fans. Shadow's content absolutely shines in both 2D and 3D, and everything from its level design to his abilities and how they synergize are the new gold standard for Sonic games. Now, this remaster soars far above previous remasters we've gotten in the Sonic franchise, and hopefully will be the roadmap for future Sonic video games.
Absolutely.
Sonic Generations on its own is a game designed to evoke nostalgia, but it never falls into the trap of relying entirely on fuzzy feelings from the past. And with the addition of Shadow's story during this time, we're treated to an all-new experience that seamlessly interweaves itself into the original Generations storyline. Sonic X Shadow Generations manages to incorporate all the elements that make 3D Sonic so damn special, all while finding ways to make them feel distinct and fresh, especially with the inclusion of the expansive Shadow the Hedgehog portion. All these things result in an unforgettable Sonic video game that at the time simultaneously takes us back to the past, gives us a glimpse at its future, all to find its way as our top pick for the best Sonic game to date.
Generations just feels like Unleashed, but more open and more refined. And to me, that's all I really need to say, because I could go on about... See, I could go on for days about how great Unleashed is, but Generations, I could literally just say a few sentences and it just cements it as my favorite. Nothing can make me hate Generations. Generations is my beloved. SEGA, thank God you didn't botch that port. I was going to be so pissed if they did. Except for the writing. The writing was kind of ass, but you know what? Generations' story was just whatever. I don't care.
Picks for the top 10 Sonic video games to date. This is our list here at IGN. Please feel free to share with us your top 10 Sonic games in the comments down below. Even us here at IGN have vastly differing lists to this one, so we'd love to hear what you all think.
Yeah, no, that was not a bad video. Do I agree with the list? Not entirely, but like I do think that it's It's pretty respectable. I think it's respectable, and I think it is pretty... I think this is a list that a lot of people can agree on.
Hello, this is Future Editing Hatman here again. Just want to say, I still stand by that I don't think the video is inherently bad. Pretty decent, as a matter of fact, but there are some things that I really feel a little confused by, to say the least. But before I get into that, there's just one thing that was really bothering me when watching the video. That's the video quality was decently inconsistent throughout most of it. Like, there were several times rewatching it where I had to check my settings to make sure it was at 1080p 60 FPS. As for the choices themselves, while I don't think that there's inherently any really bad choices, it's just the placements of most of them are a little bit questionable. I think Sonic Advance 1 being at number 4 is the biggest offender of this. Not because it's necessarily a bad game, but putting this over all the Genesis games. As well as the fact that Adventure 1 isn't even on this list because of how dated it is, when you could definitely say that about Adventure 2 as well, arguably even more in some cases. It makes this choice in particular come off as really confusing. Not to mention the fair amount of inconsistencies I found when watching this video, such as them showing PS2 footage of Sonic Unleashed when also showing HD footage, not necessarily specifying which version of the game they're talking about, reasonings and statements that don't entirely add up, such as the statement of Sonic CD being more refined than Sonic 2, or the segments on Unleashed Colors and Generations feeling a little bit ungenuine either because of fan outcry, consistency with IGN, or purely because they're fan favorites. None of these are inherently issues with the video, just something that I kind of noticed. But the most baffling thing about this video to me, see, remember when I pointed out that Rush was originally on the 2022 list? In fact, do you remember at the beginning of this video when I pointed out that the 2022 version of this video had the exact same thumbnail as the new version? Yeah, apparently there's a reason for that. See, outside of the exclusion of Rush, inclusion of Frontiers, and Sonic X Shadow Generations replacing the original generations on the list, this is the exact same list as the 2022 version. Seriously, outside of the very small differences that I mentioned, the list is the exact same. Now, this isn't me calling IGN a bunch of hacks or whatever. Again, I still stand by that the hate they get is a little bit unjustified, but it comes off as a very lazy way to gain traction from the Sonic fandom. I have nothing against the people at IGN, let alone the people who made this video. This is more of me saying, if you barely have more to say on a topic that isn't what you said before, then don't make the video. If anybody who works at IGN decides to make another top 10 best Sonics list the next time the next mainline Sonic game comes out, be sure to not just cover old ground that you did previously. If you feel your list hasn't changed all that much besides a few placements here or there, then it's not worth doing another top 10 video on the same subject. But this is pretty much it for the video. The rest of the recording is just me yapping about my favorite Sonic games, what I would put on my top 10. But I'll just re-record it here and now just so you guys don't have to hear me stuttering over my camera over and over again. Number 10 is Sonic Colors. Despite the fact that it doesn't have the best design choices, it also is pretty fun. Aesthetic-wise, I think it is the best modern Sonic game, and for the most part, the gameplay is very solid. Next up is Sonic the Hedgehog 2 at number 9. Definitely the fastest feeling classic Sonic game, however, it kind of falls apart once you hit Metropolis Zone, but besides that, the game itself is really fun. Sonic Heroes takes number 8 because I think it is a genuinely charming game with a lot of really fun design choices, great level design, and overall decent mechanics. It's just a little janky, and there are some mechanics that aren't that great, but besides that, Sonic Heroes is a fun time. Number 7 then goes to Sonic Superstars because I love a lot of its levels. The Chaos Emerald abilities are very interesting as mechanics, and I really enjoy a lot of what it tries, but those bosses, man, they really do drag down the game quite a bit. Despite talking about the zones I didn't like all that much in Mania, I still think it is a fantastic Sonic game, having genuinely great level design, a great sense of speed and momentum-based platforming, and is oozing for love and care put into the series. I just think that the game gets a little monotonous towards the end. I think that the game could be a little bit too easy, and the nostalgia factor of it can definitely be a little bit overbearing. Sonic Frontiers takes number 5 because although I think it is a very janky and very unpolished Sonic game, it strikes a really good balance between the adventure and boost formula, while also having some of the best spectacle in the series, making for a game I just love to mess around with. Number 4 goes to Sonic 3 and Knuckles, aka my favorite 2D Sonic game, has the perfect balance of speed and exploration, arguably has the best structure of any classic Sonic game, all accompanied by iconic music and really fun stages, with the exception of 1 or 2 mediocre zones, but besides that, this game is amazing. Number 3 goes to the original Sonic Adventure 1. In my opinion, Adventure 1 still has the best control out of any 3D Sonic game. The levels are just straight up iconic and very fun to speedrun, all accompanied by a story that's still genuinely great to this day. Sonic Unleashed is number 2 purely because of how amazingly polished it is and how fantastic the level design can be. Not to mention it feels like one of the most immersive Sonic games in existence, with a world that is just dying for you to explore. The Warehouse stages are fun, the Sun and Moon medals are genuinely great incentives to replay the levels, and these levels are so well designed that I just want to replay them every day. But if it wasn't already obvious, my favorite Sonic game is Sonic X Shadow Generations. It feels like a much more refined version of Unleashed, more open level design, fun bosses, all while feeling fresh and doing all these iconic locations justice. Nothing can make me hate Sonic Generations. Oh, that's the video, by the way. Bye, guys.